Have you guys ever heard it when kind of things fizzle, pop, and almost squeal when there's like gas emitting? It's kind of like, it just sounds like a squeaky fart. What's happening, my fellow ghouls and ghoulettes? Welcome to a brand new episode of Cosplay Chris, and whilst we're on the hype train of Halloween, Halloween Ends, and just everything Michael Myers, I'm going to be doing a body count breakdown from Halloween Ends. So the film is now doing the rounds in cinemas, it's on Peacock. I've checked the film out once again and I want to go over all of the deaths, the body counts, the special effects in the film, because there are some cracker effects on display here, and Christopher Nelson and Vincent Van Dyke of Van Dyke Effects should be commended. I know I say this a lot, but the effects have always just been top notch in this trilogy of films. Now, of course, I've got to put the spoiler warning because we are going to be delving into the body count and the victims of the film, so you've been warned. So the deaths range from disgusting to tragic to just what the fuck. There are 3 deaths I'm going to be covering at the beginning of the body count. We see them happen off screen, but they're deaths that aren't at the hands of either Corey or Michael Myers. So first up, we have Jeremy at the beginning of the film. This is essentially like the prologue of the film. Corey's babysitting Jeremy on the night of Halloween 2019. Jeremy's parents have gone out to Jeremy's dad's work function. Jeremy's just playing silly buggers with Corey, leads him up into the attic, locks Corey in the attic. As Corey smashes the door open, the door hits Jeremy, he goes over the banister, and as Jeremy's parents walk in, they see his body smash on the ground, breaking his nose and crushing his face. I'm not a parent, but that is fucking brutal. I remember when we were at the premiere and we were watching that scene, and I look next to me, and Chloe's a childcare teacher, and I look over and her hands are just over her mouth with disgust and just like, what the fuck? And the performances of the actors who played Jeremy's parents were great. They sold it to me. And I love how the camera zooms in more on Corey, zooms in more on the parents, and it just gets closer and closer, and then boom, Halloween Ends. Also, you notice the color and the font for Halloween Ends is the same as Season of the Witch? So the next couple of kills I'm going to cover, like I said, aren't at the hands of Corey or Michael Myers. And this is something I wish I had touched on in my movie review of Halloween Ends. The effect that Michael has had on Haddonfield is ridiculous. He has essentially infected the town with fear ever since the events took place on the night of 2018. We see a couple that have been shot in their car. Not by Michael, not by Corey, and we see Officer Hawkins say to one of the officers, Michael doesn't use guns. It could have been a carjacking gone wrong, a murder-suicide, but the next death we see is a woman hanging outside of her house. Now, this just isn't any woman. This is unfortunately Oscar's mum. We remember Oscar from the 2018 film who tried to kiss Allison. He was Cameron's best friend. Gus, what are you doing, young man? And ultimately he met his demise at the hands of Michael with that gate pole through the neck. And it was really sad watching Oscar's mum in Halloween Kills at the hospital trying to find her son, and my heart broke for her. Now, my heart breaks even more for that family. She obviously couldn't take it and she's hung herself after what's happened. You wanna go? Okay. Oh, you're right. Oh my God, you're getting heavy. I didn't realize that was Oscar's mum until someone showed me in a thread on a forum, and they also noticed that she was credited, the actor that portrayed Oscar's mum is there credited as Oscar's mum, and that was really heartbreaking. Again, I didn't realize it was her at the beginning of the film. I just figured it was just a resident of Haddonfield who unfortunately took their own life. And now having an even closer look at the screenshot, I can see that Oscar's mum was wearing the devil horns and red cape when she hung herself, like what her son was wearing when he died. That's just heartbreaking, man. But again, when the town hears murder, suicide, they instantly think of Michael. So as the film goes on, there's a bit of time before the next death. And this is Corey's first kill. This is the homeless man that's living outside of the sewer system where Michael has been residing for 4 years. After Corey has his first encounter with Michael, he escapes out through the drain pipe to find the homeless man there, who essentially says, I want you to go back in and get that mask because I want to be Michael Myers. They get into a scuffle and Corey ultimately stabs him 2 times. I think it's 2 times. He gets that surge, that energy, that thrill of the kill. And as I said in my review, this is a beautiful looking film. I think it's the best looking out of the entire trilogy, and the fact that this happens morning, sunrise, and the way it's shot so beautifully under the overpass, and you just see the haze of dawn rising as he's killed this poor homeless man. Now that Corey has a taste for killing, the next victim is Doug Mulaney. You recognize that last name? Yes, the fucking Mulaney's from the flashback scene of Halloween Kills. It's probably like the son of one of those kids who's now an officer. Officer Doug Mulaney, who dated Allison in the past. They have a bit of a history. he still has a thing for Allison, and he riles Corey up when he's on a date with Allison. So he follows Corey back to the sewer system. Corey gets into a scuffle with Doug, leads him into the pipe where Myers is waiting in the sewer system. And this was such a weird shot. Originally in the trailer, we see Michael jump out and grab Officer Mulaney, but in this shot, in the final cut of the film, we just see him hiding behind that rock there. It was just really weird. Michael then reveals himself from the shadows and pulls his knife out from the rock where he's been hiding it. He's very weak, and with that, he slits Doug's throat. Doug falls to the ground with Corey holding him, and with that, Michael has his first stab. And with that, like with Corey, and this was a very confusing moment for me whilst watching this film for the first time, we see this surge and this rush of energy course through Michael as if he's getting his power back. It sounds so stupid. And with that, he just keeps stabbing at Doug. Don't fuck with the Mulaney's, my ass. Next up on the body count, we have Nurse Deb and Dr. Mathis. So Allison was hoping for a promotion at her work. She works with Nurse Deb, and their higher up is Dr. Mathis. Ultimately, Dr. Mathis chose Nurse Deb because they're sleeping together. The two go back to Dr. Mathis' house. Nurse Deb is going to take a shower and change, but she hears a bit of a scuffle. She comes outside to the pool area to see Corey with a scarecrow mask on, with a bag over Dr. Mathis' head, stabbing him repeatedly in the neck and face with a corkscrew. So Corey goes to chase Nurse Deb in. She locks the door, but she is confronted by Michael, who then pins her against the wall in the shots that we've seen in the trailer. Very reminiscent and a nice little throwback to the character of Bob from the 1978 film. So now we're at the point where we're getting into the nitty-gritty graphic kills. So there were 4 kids at the beginning of the film that bullied Corey. They go by the names of Billy, Stacy, Terry, and Margot. They're in the marching band. They were celebrating. They wanted Corey to buy a beer. He said no, and they bully him. Laurie comes along and kind of saves the day. But these kids chase Corey into the junkyard where he works. And what we see next is some of the most brutal kills. First up, we have Billy, who is constantly carrying drumsticks around throughout the film. Terry goes and finds him in the car with one of the drumsticks jammed in his eye, and I didn't realize it was one of his drumsticks until I went back and watched the film for a second time. Again, when you're watching a film for the first time, you don't take everything in, and I just assumed it was Corey's pocket knife that he'd be carrying around, but no. One of Billy's drumsticks. Terry then goes to get the help of Ron, who's watching a movie in the office of the junkyard. And this is what I need help with. Is Ron Corey's stepdad or uncle? I'm hearing conflicting things. It's the stepdad, it's the uncle. It's not his biological father because he calls him Ron, and they just don't have that camaraderie of a biological father and son. If this was his stepdad and his mum had remarried, I'd totally get that, but then some people are saying it's the uncle. And then Ron encounters Corey holding the mask with the coveralls, so he's trying to emulate what Michael is doing. Terry then comes out with the gun that Ron gave him. Ron stands up. Terry accidentally shoots Ron through the head. That was fucking heartbreaking, man. In an earlier scene when Corey goes home and his mum slaps him, the camera pans to Ron and Ron just says, "I hope you find love." He's a sweet guy, and with that I thought, this guy is going to die. Terry runs up to see what he's done to Ron, and with that he pans over and he sees Stacy, who has taken a wrench to the head. Again, a kill off screen. Now I should backtrack. Before all this happened, Corey was in the tow truck and slams Margot against a fence, crushing her under the car. She is still alive, but she is trapped under this fence under the tow truck. Ron tries to save her and free her, gets shot in the head. Terry then tries to save her, but gets the butt of the gun slammed to his face by Corey. With that, Corey ignites his welding torch and then proceeds to blowtorch the shit out of Terry's mouth. This is an out of focus shot. You don't fully see what's going on here. I would love to see the behind the scenes shot of the dummy that Christopher Nelson, Vincent Van Dyke and co built, but the sound design is what got me the most. Have you guys ever heard it when kind of things fizzle, pop and almost squeal when there's like gas emitting? It's kind of like it just sounds like a squeaky fart. But you hear all these types of gases and fizzling as the blowtorch is melting his mouth. It's fucking disgusting, and I loved it. When I first saw the trailer, I thought the blowtorch was gonna happen to Margot under the fence, like she's trapped and Corey just blowtorches the shit out of her, but no, he gets Terry, blowtorches his mouth, and his face is just fried to a crisp. We don't see the aftermath, we just see it happening, and then it cuts. And with that, Corey, now wearing the mask, stands over Margot, who is still trapped under the fence, and gives her a nice, good old-fashioned Dr. Sartain head crush with his foot. And just to add insult to injury, he runs her over as he takes off in the tow truck. Corey then heads back to his place where he kills his mum. He stabs her a couple of times, and we see the death happen off screen, which is interesting because we saw some footage of a scuffle between Corey and his mum in the trailer. There was promotional photos with the pillow. She's holding up a pillow. He stabs it. There's feathers everywhere, but they decided to show it off screen. So I don't know. The more I talk to people who have worked on this film, especially in the effects department, the more I hear how much was cut out of this film. So after Corey kills his mum, he heads to the radio station where Willie the Kid has tormented poor Corey over the years. He kills the radio station receptionist in an out of focus shot while Willie the Kid is putting a track on. We see him killing the receptionist out in the office. I'm not sure how he kills her. It looks like he's attempting to stab her. I'm not sure. Could be a good old-fashioned choking and neck break. I'm not sure. But as Corey walks into the sound booth, still wearing the Michael Myers mask, he grabs Willie the Kid's head and proceeds to slam it on the desk and on the turntable until his jaw is hanging off, his tongue protruding. Corey then grabs the scissors that the receptionist had and proceeds to cut Willie the Kid's tongue off. It's like the blowtorch death. There's gurgling and Willie the Kid's dead, and with that, the tongue is left on the turntable. It's going over the needle, and it's like I appreciate a good kill, but I also appreciate injecting a little bit of dark humor into a kill, and I think that was done very well. We're now on to our 2 final body counts for the film. So the next one is Corey Cunningham. After Corey kills the radio receptionist and the radio DJ, he then heads to Laurie's house, and Laurie sets up to take her life, which is essentially to lure Corey there. They have a scuffle. Laurie shoots Corey twice. He falls through the banister onto the lower floor. There's a bit of a back and forth between Laurie and Corey, and with that, Corey says if no one can have Allison, he stabs himself in the neck. We all think he's dead, but with that, Michael turns up to retrieve his pride and joy, his mask, and with that, Corey goes to grab his hand. He's still alive. Michael then grabs his head and snaps his neck, killing Corey. Again, very strange, but this is a body count video. And the last death in this film is Michael Audrey Myers. There is a big showdown in Laurie Strode's kitchen with a lot of knives. She pins him down to the counter with 2 knives, slams the fridge down on his leg so he can't go anywhere, and Laurie is in her element. This is the moment for her. This is redemption after 4 decades. Not only has Laurie pinned Michael down, she stabs him in the chest, stabs him in the side. She then removes his mask and then proceeds to slit his throat. Now, even though we don't see James Hugh Courtney's full face, it's just sort of a side-on profile shot. I love the makeup, and I love the long wispy bits of beard and hair, and like all he's been burnt so he can't grow any facial hair, and the makeup looks amazing. I hope we do get some decent shots of James Hugh Courtney in the makeup chair being made up by Christopher Nelson and co. I really want to see that, just like with Halloween Kills, how he's all freshly burnt and crispy. This is a heel burn, no facial hair on this side, just a long dirty wispy white beard. So yes, Laurie proceeds to slit his throat and slit his wrists. She wants him to bleed out and make sure he's dead. Allison turns up, Hawkins turns up, Sheriff Barker turns up for some fucking reason, and then the whole town of Haddonfield have this procession to the junkyard with Michael strapped down to the top of a cop car. Now during this procession, once again we see Sandra, who somehow miraculously survived the events of Halloween Kills. Obviously her husband Phil had died, but she has survived. She can no longer speak, and we also see a little cameo from the actor who portrayed Julian in Halloween 2018 and a tiny little cameo in Halloween Kills, who was being babysat by Vicky, who was killed by Michael in 2018. They get to the junkyard, they carry Michael like he's in a rock concert and put him into the incinerator, and with that, Allison flicks the switch, Laurie pushes him in, and Michael is crushed to an absolute pulp. The crusher just mangles him. There's blood, bone, brain, spitting ass flying everywhere. And with that, the boogeyman is dead. I do love the last shot in this film, Ghouls and Ghoulettes. It's the Michael Myers mask on the table there, and then we cut to credits with Blue Oyster Cult, Don't Fear the Reaper. Nice little throwback to 1978. So there you go, Ghouls and Ghoulettes. That was the body count for Halloween Ends. I fucking hope I did not miss anything. If I did, please let me know down below, and please let me know what was your favorite kill. I'm gonna have to say it was either Willie the Kid or Terry with the blowtorch to the mouth. I've never really seen that happen in film. We sort of see it happen in Hostel, but to see it that brutal and just so up close to the mouth, he was essentially just jamming it in his mouth and just igniting his head like a jack-o'-lantern. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Let me know down below what your favorite kill is, and with that being said, wherever you are in the world, please have yourselves an absolute cracker of a day. I hope you're well, hope you're happy, be merry, be silly, and until next time, Ghouls and Ghoulettes, please always remember, cosplayers do it best.